What's up, family? Welcome back to another legendary reaction video. Let's go.
I felt more comfortable my left hand there than I did my right. Then once I got team in rookie free agent camp that I wasn't going to have very many problems playing in this league. So it didn't take me long.
Wait.
Against some of the better players we had on our team in rookie free agent camp that in the summer when I played against some of the better players we had on our team in rookie free agent camp that I wasn't going to have very many problems playing in this league. So.
So basically he's like, look, I played who I was up against. And basically me playing who I was up against, I already knew that I was going to be very, very effective, let alone a great player in the basketball league. Makes sense, you know what I'm saying? Because you get a feel for it, get a feel for the atmosphere. You get a feel for how players are, you know what I'm saying?
It didn't take me long to figure it out that what I needed to do is learn how to win basketball games. Before I got there, I think the Celtics won 28 or 29 games that previous year, and my goal was to win as many as I possibly could, help them get to where they haven't been in a while, and that was my whole focus.
He knew his job.
Look forward to your second year, game one of the NBA Finals. I want to talk specifically about the putback. Do you remember the putback off your own miss?
Yeah, I do remember that.
So Red Auerbach called this the greatest play he'd ever seen, and he called you a player of destiny at the time. And your response, which I love, is Red says so much I don't even listen to him. I just let it run in one ear and out the other. And I'm just curious, what did it mean to have that kind of relationship and support from him?
Oh, it meant everything. Red Auerbach could be the greatest GM ever was, president of any sport. Looked up to him. We all looked up to him. Red never missed a practice. He didn't go on a lot of road games, which I don't blame him because he's been doing that his whole life, but he was there every home game. He meant the world to all of us. And to have him to say something like that is just showing a lot of respect. Not only to me, but I try to give as much respect back because he was beloved.
You gotta love how Larry Bird is very humble. He doesn't really big himself up or really seek the limelight. He just understood, I feel like, from understanding that, look, I had a job to do. I had a franchise that I wanted to get them where they haven't been at in a very long time. And I wanted to just execute that. You know what I'm saying? So.
And he meant everything to us. Red's seen a lot of basketball games in his life, and sometimes you have a tendency in the moment to forget about the other ones. But it was a good play. It was a horrible shot I missed, but I was able to gather it and in the air, switch hands, and get it to my left hand and make it. Just so happened to be in a big game, game one of the 1981 finals against Houston Rockets. That I think that's why it played up with so much hype. But still, it's something that I always did back then, was always follow my shot.
You got to give credit to Larry Bird. One thing it is, he's very efficient in following through and following up after his shot. You can tell somewhat as he leans forward and does the left-hand shot that he's leaning forward to obviously after he shoot, go get the rebound, whether it's make or miss.
Because the guy that's shooting the ball knows whether he's going to make it or miss it most of the time, whether it's going to be short, long, left, or right. And when I released the ball that day, it was way off to the right, and I was just trying to chase it down.
That seems like the type of read perfect, shooting alone in a driveway, just reading the ball off the rim. I love that. You mentioned that this series in your book and playing against Moses Malone, it gave you a new appreciation for rebounding. Do you recall the specifics about that?
Well, I was always a very good rebounder in high school and college. I think in college I averaged like 14, in high school I averaged 20, so I was always able to rebound.
High school averaging 14, that's pretty good. You know what I'm saying? Pretty good. And then college 20, that's pretty good considering that nobody really pays attention to high school basketball. I mean, everybody in their local community usually come around when it's like final or championship, but nobody really be paying attention to high school games. That's just my opinion.
The ability to seek out the ball and go get it. But when you play against guys like Moses Malone and some of the top rebounders in the league, the one thing that they always have a second jump. I never had the second jump, but they could keep the ball alive and tip it to themselves or take it off the the bank board or off the rim and get that second jump to get it. And I was always amazed how he's able to not only use his body, but his strength and his legs to get in a position to rebound.
Now, you mentioned this already, but when your first season, you had the biggest single season turnaround in wins, and then a title in your second. You're just 24 years old right now, a sophomore. And, hindsight, we know you guys have your own dynasty. But what was it like sort of continuing that, that storied legacy, that era of dominance for the Celtics? Did you appreciate that at the time?
Not before I got there, but after I got there, I really learned about what it was all about. When I played in the Garden, every game I went to, the same people in the same spots for 13 years, So they've been there forever. They knew the game.
I think he's basically saying, like, look, I didn't appreciate it until I got there, until I actually seen for what it was and got the wisdom, because from outside looking in, I'm just seeing the same individuals. Like,
I love the game of basketball, but playing for the Boston Celtics was the highlight of my whole life. Played a lot of. I enjoyed my time in Terre Haute, Indiana State. We did something incredible there, but playing at a high level and doing it for a living was the highlight of my career. And it happened to be in Boston, which is a city that I respect and love, and the best time of my life.
and also you have to realize too, you don't appreciate something maybe until I feel like he didn't appreciate the Celtics or the franchise or whatever, the dynasty that they had until he got there, because he doesn't really know, like I said, from the outside looking in. But then to actually be around folks and understand their mentality, how they go about things, how they approach the game, that's when obviously him being a great player, he can expand his IQ or expand his mentality, because more so for Larry Bird, his game was more so mental. He had the IQ, but also to have individuals who love the game of basketball. It was like iron sharpen iron. But from outside looking in, you won't be able to see much until you actually get there about what all the hype is about, or what is this dynasty about, until you realize you're in the working process of, or you are one of the individuals who have an impact in regards of the workings of that whole dynasty franchise, whatever the case may be. As he said, the same 13 people was in the same spots or so forth.
A team that had some very established players like David Collins and Tiny Archibald. What was playing with those guys like?
It's always great to play with great players. It makes the game a lot easier. But
Yeah.
the one thing that we did my second year, we picked up Robert Parrish and Kevin McHale. Now, we didn't know how they was going to fit in, but they fit in very nicely. And after we won the championship in '81, I feel like we had a good enough team where we could start a destiny and win a lot of championships. Unfortunately, there for 3 years, we didn't do much, but from '84 on, we played pretty well.
Okay. Let's jump forward. I want to jump all the way forward to the 84-85 season. And that's kind of a fun one. On March 12th, the 60-point game against the Hawks. You almost didn't play this game. Do you remember why?
Yeah, I remember every bit of it. I had
Wait. Who doesn't remember when they dropped 60 points and then realized they wasn't going to play, but then dropped 60 and be like, oh, well, it's worth reason why I play. I'm definitely, who's not going to remember that highlight in their career or their life? Like, come on, bro.
I lost my hamstrings before that game. When we went to New Orleans I think it was on a Sunday or Monday, the day of the game, I got up and I couldn't hardly move. And the reason for that is I ran in a 5-mile race. It was either on that Sunday or Saturday back home.
5-mile race. This man is different. He built different, bro. He built different.
Once a year, we had this run, and right in the middle of the season, and I always loved to go outdoors and run, and I always participated in it. But for some reason, this time my hamstrings got real tight. And before the game, I was over an hour and a half before the game, was doing everything I could to get loose. And finally, right before game time, they felt really good and played and shot the ball extremely well that night.
And the shots that you hit.
Now it makes sense why Larry Bird wasn't the fastest, wasn't the top athletic, in regards of his athleticism. But obviously his cadence, him being able to sustain and run for long periods of time, it shows. And actually now we know why. My man running 5 miles. Just for the sake of out of respect for his home time and the tradition. You know what I'm saying? That's not even besides the fact of the exercise and workouts he's doing in the league. And then on top of it, from my understanding, they used to play every day back then in his time. They used to play a game every day. He used to ball out every day.
Stretch are superhuman, contested fallaways on poor Dominique Wilkins, leaners are superhuman, contested fallaways on poor Dominique Wilkins, leaners that called off 4-point play. What do you remember about that final quarter? And when did you know that this was more than just a good shooting night, that the record was, within reach?
Well, Kevin McHale broke the all-time record a couple of weeks before that, and against Detroit Pistons, and I did not want him to go out of the game. There's a couple minutes left, and I told him to stay in, go for 60, and that's a number in my head that I wanted him to get. He ended up with 56, so a couple weeks later, when we were playing in New Orleans, and people always say, well, how'd you know how many points you had? Well, you didn't have to keep track of them. You never do. You just play the game. But the announcer let me know every time I scored. So he go 48, 50, 52, and when it got to that with like 3 or 4 minutes to go, I thought I might as well go ahead and try to get 60, and that's what I did.
How about that? Now you mentioned specifically the Kevin McHale record a few days prior. I'm just curious, how did you two, stars with very different personalities, how did you push each other to be better?
Well, I think it's just the competition of practice every day. But we didn't go against one another. When Kevin became a starter, we was always on the same team. But before that, he was our sixth man, came off the bench. I'd play against him every day. And what we do, we played hard, we practiced hard, we scrimmaged a lot, and we try to make each other better. That's just the nature of the business, because if you go into practice, you want to play at a high level, or you really get nothing out of it. So we did our best to play hard every day and then try to learn one another's game. And it was so easy to play with Kevin because he had pretty good hands and he always got great positions. So and he was 7 foot, so it's easy to get the ball to him in the right spots.
It is true. It is true. My man is very, very tall.
Now, during this game, you had the Hawks in pieces on the bench. I'm curious from your vantage point, what were they saying and doing?
I have no idea. You don't watch that stuff during the game. I didn't know about it until, I don't know, maybe a couple weeks after people were talking about it. But later on, somebody showed me a video of it, and we've done the same thing. I remember Andrew Toney in big games from Philadelphia come in and start making crazy shots, and or Vinny, the microwave. We don't fall off the bench like that, but we sit there and go, man, this is unbelievable. What are you doing?
Yeah, they don't. Of course, they're not going to be able. They're not going to show it, exaggerate, and fall off the bench like that. But trust me, players talk, they watch, they observe. It's part of the game.
To stop them, and so I've been on both sides of it.
And you mentioned specifically, again, in your book, and you sort of said right after the 60-point game, one that you're maybe more personally proud of is the one where you had a triple-double with 9 steals. I don't even think you played in the fourth quarter at all.
Well, that was in Utah, and they had a real good team, and if I'm correct, I think we played the Lakers the day before, and we always seemed like Utah the next night, which is always tough after a game against the Lakers to come in and stay on that high. But that game, everything was clicking, and it seemed like they were just throwing me the ball all the time. I always had it in my hands, and put a lot of numbers up, but numbers don't mean nothing. The win was more important. It's always good to.
Thank you. All these little personal accolades that individuals nowadays in the basketball league is shooting for, it doesn't mean nothing if you gotta win. You ain't gotta win the show for it. I mean, what is it to say you made an impact, but obviously the impact wasn't big enough to get the overall goal, which was to win the game? Make it make sense.
Reflect back like today and say, yeah, that's right, I did get 9 steals and I had a triple-double, but getting a quadruple-double meant nothing to me. I mean, really, you go into a game and when you're up by 25, 30 points, just for a steal, makes no sense to me. I've done enough damage already.
Ooh, run that back. He said,
you go into a game and when you're up by 25, 30 points, just for a steal, makes no sense to me. I've done enough damage already.
I've done enough damage already.
Fast forward to the next season. February 8th, it's All-Star Weekend, and you're participating in the very first three-point contest that you did. From the moment that you found out that you would be participating in the contest, what did you do to prepare? This is uncharted.
Well,
territory.
yeah, it is uncharted because we never shot a lot of threes, and I never practiced them. I mean, every once in a while I go out there with Danny Ainge and we'd shoot a few, but I didn't really know if I wanted to be in the three-point contest until a couple of my teammates told me I wouldn't win it anyway. So then I had to go out and prove to them that I could win the thing. I'm a very confident player. The one thing I didn't know if I could do it. You had 25 balls and you had time, you had to get them up. Never done anything like that before. So me and Danny started practicing a little bit, and next thing you know, we're out there playing and shooting, and the more rounds you go through, the more confidence you got. There was never a time where I thought I couldn't win the competition. There's always a time where if the ball was flowing right, the more I shot it, the better I got.
The way he's so effortless at when he put his mind to something, he achieves it. That's why I say Larry Bird game is more mental than anything. Let alone, but anything that he did commit to, he strived for greatness with it. And you can't get mad at a player, especially with a player that's confident in his abilities, because you know what you're going to get. And you know how valuable it's going to be. And you know how impactful they're going to be. And at the end of the day, when you have confidence, let alone you can back up everything you say and back up what you do, that's leverage. That's leverage. Because if it came to from a business perspective, if you had to negotiate from both ends of the table, you're going to ask for what you want. Because obviously you're confident enough to know what you're going to give. And it's nothing like from a GM perspective or a business perspective where someone doesn't want somebody who they don't know what they're going to get.
But my whole mentality of that was if I got through the first round, I was going to win.
Now, one advantage that you had versus some of the other players in the contest was a little bit extra experience, shooting under pressure. And you seem to have fun with that, breaking the ice in the locker room with the now mythical line. So who's coming in second? What do you remember about that exchange?
Well, it wasn't a big deal. It's just that it's a very somber locker room. Nobody was saying anything because we compete against each other, mostly on a nightly basis. And there's not a lot of rapport going back and forth, but pretty quiet. Guys, a little nervous. A lot of the guys that was in the competition were great shooters, but they were bench players. They didn't play maybe 12, 10 minutes a game. So it's a whole different feeling when you get out there because when you're shooting that basketball and there's 20,000 people in the arena, there's 40,000 sets of eyes on you. It's a little different. And it's just you. So I knew they was under a lot of duress anyway. So I said it just to break the ice, but I didn't think it would ever leak out there. But truthfully, I meant it. I mean, I knew I was probably going to win the contest.
You said I said it to break. Them icebreakers when you went to school and the room was awkward and nobody was saying anything. So to get some conversations going, you got you try to make some humoristic type of jokes. And my man said, "Look, I meant it when I said it, icebreaker or not."
Casey Jones said, Larry has that Muhammad Ali kind of approach. He gets to you and your mind before the fight begins. By the time you step in the ring, you're 40 points down. And I'm just curious, where did this sort of playful,
Even Larry
unwavering confidence come from for you personally?
Well, my confidence came from me shooting basketball by myself for hours upon hours. I mean, it's not, I didn't pick up a ball on a Saturday and decide I was going to score 40 a game. I mean, that preparation came way before that. So I played a lot of basketball in my life and did a lot of shooting and from every angle, from every position. Then once I grew, be 6'9", the game became a lot easier. But I put my time in, so I knew
Put your 10,000 hours in, boy. Yeah, I put my time in. What? Come on, man.
more time than anybody else. And I had skills that other people didn't have, so I had a lot of confidence in whatever I did out there on the basketball court.
Would you say, was there a comparable player that would talk on the court like you would? Who would you say the greatest trash talker is?
Well, I mean, everybody talks about this trash talking stuff, but, it's a little bit overblown. I mean, I said some things, but the talk didn't go on and on and on. You had to play the game. But some guys would say things. You know, guys walk up to you when you're on the free throw line and walk by and say something. But mine wasn't doing anything to disrespect people. You know, sometimes you get into it with players and you say things, but more was just fun. You know, Dominic Wilkins is a guy that I respect more than anybody I ever played against. And I talked to Dominic just being him. You know, nobody knew we was talking. And what a great player. You know, I love to compete against him. But he used to just laugh at me.
Just great guys doing great things, making memorable moments. At the end of the day, it was, I felt like, more than basketball with them. It was just two men doing a job and having a good time at it, but also delivering what they're supposed to do in regards to their job. You know what I'm
Which I
saying?
thought was pretty cool.
It's like one of your buddies, right? You at work and y'all talk a little bit trash talk, but y'all still handle y'all business. You know what I'm saying? That's all it is. They were men first before basketball players. And I feel like that's where that familiarity came in. You know what I'm saying? And then the respect, obviously, because of what they're doing, being so impactful at their jobs.
A little bit. You didn't shoot a lot of threes during this era. No one really did. But you were one of the first to flourish there, starting around in the mid-'80s. When did you start seriously working on your range?
Well, I never did. Like I said earlier, I never did practice a three-point shot much. The one thing that I remember most about the three-point shot was you could use it to your team's advantage at the end of games, to ice games, and deflate other teams. But I can also remember in the mid-'80s, Casey Jones was the coach, and he came in the locker room for the game and told us we shoot too many threes. And we probably shot maybe 8 or 9 the game before. Well, we're playing New York, and the ball goes up, and Robert tips it out. Danny Ainge picks it up and fires up a three, first shot of the game. And I'm going, well, I guess that's out the window. But, you know, there wasn't a mentality that we had to shoot 33s a game like they are now. I mean, I know coaches in our league like to shoot 50 a game. But back then, not with the Celtics. We were a big team. We liked to pound ball inside and go inside.
Not only that, they were very strategic. You know what I'm saying? Nowadays, it's like the three is a requirement. Back then, it was like he said, to ice games, to gain the league, you know, to gain ground where you not at just a comfortable league, but at the end of the day, you just doing damage. And the 3-point was just for a leverage standpoint. Now it's like a requirement. And don't get me wrong, guys score way more now than back then. I feel like, you know, and they put more points on the board way faster.
Out, you know. So the three-point shot wasn't something that, you know, we worried about. If you had it, you take it, but most of the time we
you
threw it
did.
inside.
Simple.
Now, fast forwarding just a week. It's February 14th. You're playing against the Blazers, and you're scoring 47 points. And you're especially using your left hand.
Oh,
What compelled you to shoot so many field goals with your left in that game in particular?
I don't know. I had a good left hand around the basket, and they always, if you watch, if I remember the game correctly, they were forcing me left to help, and they wasn't getting there quick enough. So I had shots around 5-6 foot with my left hand. I felt more comfortable with my left hand there than I did my right. Then once I got started making a few, I just kept going, and some night.
That's one thing about great defenders. They'll force you in your uncomfortable zone, and they'll take you out of your comfortable zone. So if you're a right-hand dominant player and you keep trying to drive right, from a defender standpoint, you should be looking, staying in front, and definitely looking at their waist. You know, their waist never leaves their body, so that's how you're gonna stay in track and tune what they do. Because if you pay attention to the ball, your ankles might get broke. But with that being said, you'll usually obviously force the player left because they keep going right. And it's like, from a defensive standpoint, the logic of a challenge. But in regards to Larry Bird's standpoint, it's like, okay, y'all won't force me left, but then I just got a groove and I just kept it pushing. You know what I'm saying? So effortless with it. Like, classy with it, real classy with it, classy gameplay.
Then some night I don't. That night it happened to work out. But if I remember correctly, we won that game in overtime by like 1 point. So, you know,
Just play it right.
probably shot with my right hand the whole game.
Now, Jackie McMullen wrote in the book With You and Magic that the Celtics at this time were young, loose, cocky, and together.
Yeah.
Nowadays, as we look back at that 85-86 team, as one of the best in league history.
Right.
What was the mood on that team compared even to Celtics teams prior?
I played on some really good teams, but nothing quite like that one. Bill Walton made a lot of difference on that team. Jerry Sixteen coming in from
And
Indiana.
shout out to Bill Walton, man. Legendary individual. Very funny individual. Humor out the roof. And then rest in peace. 'Cause, at the end of the day, gratitude and respect, you always should give, man.
As a backup point guard. Scotty Webman was there in '84, but he was a top player for us off our bench. Our bench was just as good as the starters, I thought. But Bill Walton was the key. Bill came in and coming off a lot of injuries for a lot of years, felt relatively healthy. And we felt if we could keep him on the court 10 or 15 minutes a game, we're probably going to win a championship. It all came down to whether we was going to be healthy or not. And we stayed pretty healthy. I think Bill played in 80 games that year, and we just felt that nobody could beat us, not in a 7-game series.
Now fast forward to June 8th, 1986. It's Game 6. So this is following a heated Game 5, the Ralph Sampson incident, but the Boston crowd in Game 6 was intense.
Yeah.
And how would you describe Celtics fans and the environment that they created at
Well, it depends on what game. I played there on Sundays at noon. And I always said they should have went to church instead of coming to the game because it sounded like we playing in a church. But then I fire them up, and here they come, So I can remember Bill Walton. I got there real early, and I got my stuff done. And Bill Walton came in the locker room. He goes, "Them fans want blood, and they don't care whose it is." And, I lived that life for 13 years, and that was Bill's first year. So I knew I know them Boston fans. They want them championships, and they want it in the fashion that we gave it to them. They want a big lead. They want to have fun. They don't want to sit on their hands. They want to get up and go, and they're cocky just like their team was.
Mm-hmm. Energy matched. Energy was reciprocated with no issues whatsoever. Look, you gave us a great game. This is what we expect. It's just amazing to see how confident the fans are, just as confident as the players. You know what I'm saying? That's what makes the whole franchise, the fans, support. It makes it legendary. It makes it great. You know what I'm saying?
Now, you said that you probably concentrated and prepared more for this particular game than any other. And I'm curious, how is this different than other?
I don't think I prepared. I think we were prepared as a team. After what you said happened in Game 5, we just had to let that go and concentrate on what we had to get done in Game 6. We already lost 2 games to them, which very talented team, but we were the superior team. They were young, and I didn't think they could ever win 2 games. But what happened in Game 5 spilled over to Game 6. Now it was up to us to go out as a veteran team that's been there before and play like we've been there before. Mm-hmm. And that's why our focus had to be solely on what we can do as a team. And that's what we did.
And you were contributing, across the board. It's almost like a defensive masterclass that you put on in that game.
Well, I was told 2 or 3 times to get out of the zone defense I was in. But we were all over the court. It was a hype game. It was one of them games.
I feel like Larry Bird is a great man-to-man defense type of guy because he loves a challenge, and that one-on-one challenge is nothing like ever before when it comes to his gameplay. So I understand why they definitely recommended for him not to be playing in 2-3 zone because 2-3 zone is like swaying left to right, 2 people in front of the blocks, 3 people, in the back. The bigs switching, from the mid block down low and then, dishing out and pushing out to the corners. So let's say, for example, a player gets to the corner and ready to shoot, the bigs have to hurry up and be able to get there, on the corner down low. So man-to-man is definitely great. And that was a good call in regards of Larry Bird to play man-to-man,
You had all this energy, you just want to keep going and going and going. And it seemed like everybody was in the right place at the right time, and the ball was moving really well, and guys were hitting shots. So I think it was a game that not only was I prepared to play in, but everybody was ready to go.
And one shot in particular that you mentioned in the book that I love to watch was that three-pointer from the corner in the fourth quarter. Bill kind of gets in your way and you zigzag on the baseline.
Well, when I came out of that, I knew the clock was down, but I didn't know it was down that far. I got the corner wanting him to go post up, but when I got there, out of the corner of my eye, I seen the shot clock on the other end. So when I got out there, I just turned and shot it. It was all really in the flow of the game.
The heat of the moment.
But, you know, when you do that, you hope they go in. But if we missed it, it wasn't a big deal. And we were moving well. We were playing well. We sort of had them on their heels at that time. They were down probably 20-some points, and we were just playing the way we played.
Now let's go to the next season. I want to talk specifically May 26, 1987. It's Game 5 of the Eastern Conference Finals. The steal, the assist to Dennis Johnson. You've got Rick Mahorn guarding you.
It's what I wanted.
See, it's nothing like a player knowing what they want and then getting what they want, because at the end of the day, they're always seeking he's always seeking a challenge. And it's like, boy, I know what I'm ready to give y'all, but y'all better give me what I want in regards to this challenge, because I feel like this is the only way that this going to give y'all some type of livelihood to even be considerable, to even be competitive in this game. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. I feel like Larry Bird is a very long-term logical guy, you know?
Looking for it.
Well, he's playing me drive it, playing me go left, and I mean, I had an opportunity to shoot a jump shot, but in that situation, if you can get open is one thing, but if you think you can beat the guy off the dribble and get in there and maybe try to make contact or make a play. But when I drove in there, everything closed down. And when I went up, the shot was blocked. I didn't know who blocked it, you know, and went out of bounds. And next time I see Isaiah grab it, or the referee's got the ball, and I'm on the floor. And I went back to a player, and I seen Lambeer going to the baseline, get the ball. And I thought a timeout was coming because I knew they had a timeout left. They could advance the ball. But Isaiah gets it and throws a lob pass. And I think Jerry Sisson was on him, covering him. And Isaiah had to throw it up a little bit. And he did. And that ball seemed like it just stayed in the air. And somehow I got there.
Every time it's like an intense moment in sports or anything, comment down below, family. Do it ever feel like things are just going in slow motion? Like, I experienced it plenty of times, man.
Fingertips on it and popped it back to myself. And out of the corner of my eye, I seen a white jersey. And I knew it was DJ. It had to be DJ. And I had a little shot there I could have took, but I kick it off the DJ, and he lays it up and in. And I think there's 1 second left on the time, and we end up winning the game. It's just a reaction play, like I told you earlier. Sometimes you do things, you know, you just do it because you've done it so many times. I'm not saying I made a steal like that thousands of times, but I reacted that way thousands of times. And I'm just lucky enough to get my fingertips on the ball.
And of course, much was said about DJ's uncanny ability to hit you all the time. What about that, you know, relationship with the two of you made you so in sync together?
I don't know, but I mean, obviously we were more in sync than anybody I ever played with. Somehow he could read what I was thinking. There's a lot of times I'd be looking at him.
I feel like you can do that, especially when you've been playing with somebody for a long time. Especially if you are getting to know your teammates and really wanting to get to know your teammates and the logic behind your teammates and the mindset that they have. You obviously put the pieces together and be effective, not only on your end and play your role, but at the end of the day, you'll be able to be effective to see the floor more clearly, let alone have that IQ and set each other up for success.
Top the key, he just threw it behind the defense's ear, and I knew he was going to throw it, you know, and just pick and roll plays or lob over tops. When I was in the post, how he got it to me. I mean, we had an uncanny connection that I never had with anybody else. And but when I stole that ball, I knew that was him cutting down the lane without even knowing who it was.
And now, in general, in this playoff run, you're a banged-up team, and you're dragging yourselves back to the finals. What did this playoff run and that resiliency sort of say about the personalities and the players?
Yeah, in '87, I was the healthiest one on the roster. That's not saying much. I felt pretty good. I know Robert had ankle injuries, and Kevin broke his foot in that series. I don't know if it was the Lakers series or the one before it, but he was trying to play. Danny had a hip problem, and just to get to the finals, it made us feel good. You know, we didn't win it, but we got there. And if some
There's like wounded warriors that got through the war. You know what I'm saying? And survive for the most part, and not only survive but thrive through all that adversity, bro. You gotta. I feel like this is the great team in history. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people big up Michael Jordan and all that, but them Celtics, man, they different in Larry Bird time, man. Nothing like never before. I don't feel like. Comment down below. Do you feel like it will ever be repeated again? I don't believe so.
miracle happened, we could have pulled it off, but it was a gratifying season, though we didn't win it. Usually when you lose, you always say, well, it's a bad year, but not there. I mean, we fought, scrapped, did everything we could to get back there and try to win it, and we did. And just unfortunately, we came up short.
I love that. So that was the last of the plays that I wanted to get into, and I just sort of more generically, I was just curious. The game has obviously evolved, so much over the years. But I'm curious, are there any aspects of that 80s basketball that you personally miss?
Well, the inside game. I like the game that's played now. I mean, I respect the players. We had our run, and this is their time, and this is how they like to play their game, and it's like they like to be coached this way. I understand all that, but I'm glad I played in the 80s because it was more that you could feel and hold and grab, and the ball was pounded inside. And sometimes it'd be low in scoring games, but sometimes you score 130 points, so you didn't know going in what kind of game it was going to be. So I enjoyed the 80s, but
I feel like he may be saying possibly, this is just my opinion, I feel like he's saying the games now are more, you can know what to expect more versus back in the 80s. You didn't know what you were going to get. So it's like that spontaneous, that excitement. And I feel like that's why the viewership of nowadays NBA isn't that strong. I know a lot of people say back then it wasn't that good, but I believe it was good. Especially Michael Jordan peaked viewership for individuals that watched basketball games and wanted to get into the whole sport of basketball and gain more newer fans. But and then also it takes into consideration who is running the NBA. You know what I'm saying? Like right now we got Adam Silver. You know what I'm saying? Back then, obviously, it was different, and who was running the league then. But I feel like the games are just more, you can know what to expect.
the game now. I like to see how it's played. A lot of people complain, but there's too many threes. I can remember a number of years ago, I was worried about the small guards. When you see Magic Johnson come in at 6'9" and the taller guards, 6'6", 6'7" coming in, I was wondering where the 6'3" guys and 6'2" guys, where their place in our game was going to be. Well, all of a sudden the three-point line opened up, and now where's the big man going to be? Everybody's going smaller.
And the last question for my part here is, for new fans.
I feel like the big man is going to be in regards of getting rebounds and putbacks, and of course they have to incorporate the three in their game. That's just my opinion. How do you guys feel? I feel like the big man still has to be essential in the gameplay. I mean, look at Joker. Look at Jokic. Look at the Celtics now. Porzingis, he's type big guy, tall guy. I feel like you still need that. You know what I'm saying? I feel like, for example, for my end, the Mavericks didn't win. They didn't have a big guy. They went smaller, but there wasn't that many boards they were getting. No rebounds. Rebounds sucked. So.
Coming up and are just sort of getting that first taste back into, your era. What do you want them to know about your legacy, the Celtics' legacy, the generation's legacy?
Yeah, if you look at the history of the game, every decade's different. The game changes. They always try to compare players now to back in the 80s and 70s, and which you cannot do. It's a whole different ball game.
A whole different era.
They talk about the private jets, the no back-to-backs, no 4 and 5s. I can remember one season we played 3 in a row. Well, we were young. We could do that. But you even look back further than me. Guys were on trains for days. You know, they played double hitters on Saturdays, not 2 games one day, but one team would play and they play the next one, the next night, or the night game. But the game's changed so much, and
Yeah, man, it has evolved. Times evolve, and at the end of the day, like I always say, you either evolve with the times or you get left behind. And I just wish they stopped this whole Michael Jordan LeBron thing, bro.
uh,
I like how they're prioritizing players' health to a certain standpoint, but then sometimes I don't know. I feel like the NBA got a little bit soft. That's just my opinion. Comment down below you guys' perspective as the NBA got more softer. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Spread that peace, love, and positivity. Let the love supersede the hate. Until next time, family. Peace.